The polished marble floors of Meridian Financial's downtown branch reflected the morning sunlight as Dominique Walker entered through the glass doors. Her Louboutin heels clicked confidently across the lobby, designer handbag hanging from her arm. Despite her impeccable appearance, tailored Armani suit, subtle diamond earrings, and perfect posture, several employees exchanged glances as she approached the counter. "Good morning," Dominique said with a warm smile, sliding her identification and withdrawal slip across to the young teller. "I'd like to withdraw $25,000, please." The teller's eyebrows shot up. She examined the withdrawal slip, then Dominique's ID, then Dominique herself. One moment, please," she stammered before disappearing into the back office. 3 minutes passed. Dominique checked her watch. A board meeting awaited her across town. Finally, a woman in a navy blazer emerged from the office, withdrawal slip pinched between her fingers as if it might contaminate her. "I'm Lisa Blackwell, the branch manager," she announced, voice dripping with skepticism. Her eyes performed a dismissive scan of Dominique. "We can't process this transaction today." Dominique's expression remained neutral. "May I ask why?" "That's my account, and those are my funds." Lisa's laugh was sharp. "Our system flagged this as suspicious activity. We don't typically accommodate such substantial cash withdrawals without prior notice." She slid the slip back across the counter, "especially when the account history doesn't seem to match the request." "I've been banking here for 7 years, Dominique replied evenly. "There's more than enough in my account to cover this withdrawal." By now, a small crowd of employees had gathered nearby, pretending to shuffle papers while watching the exchange. One whispered to another, loud enough to be heard, "Yeah, right. She doesn't look like she has that kind of money." Another snickered, "Probably trying to cash someone else's check." Lisa folded her arms. "Perhaps you'd like to try a different branch? Or maybe a check cashing service would be more appropriate for your needs?" The humiliation burned through Dominique's chest as every eye in the bank turned toward her. Yet she stood tall, dignity intact, despite the public disrespect. What these employees didn't know, what the condescending manager couldn't possibly have guessed, was that in exactly 7 minutes, everything about their careers, this branch and this entire bank would change forever. Because Dominique Walker wasn't just any customer. Have you ever witnessed someone's prejudice become their downfall in real time? Watched as assumptions based on appearance transformed into career-ending mistakes? If you believe everyone deserves respect regardless of how they look, tap that like button and subscribe right now. Stay with me, because what happens next delivers the kind of justice that will make you stand up and cheer. And trust me, you won't want to miss the moment when this manager learns exactly who she just humiliated. Dominique Walker wasn't born into wealth. Her story began in a small 2-bedroom apartment in South Chicago, where her mother raised 3 children alone while working double shifts as a hospital nurse. From age 12, Dominique helped care for her younger siblings, prepared meals, and still maintained straight A's in school. "I remember watching my mother count pennies at the kitchen table," Dominique often told business students during her guest lectures. "She taught me that financial independence wasn't just about comfort, it was about freedom." That lesson stuck with her through high school, where she excelled despite guidance counselors suggesting she had set more realistic goals than attending an Ivy League university. When one advisor recommended cosmetology school instead of business programs, Dominique doubled her efforts, securing a full scholarship to Cornell. College brought its own challenges. In her business classes, she frequently found herself the only black woman in the room. During group projects, her ideas were often dismissed until repeated by male classmates. Rather than becoming discouraged, she meticulously documented her contributions and built a portfolio that spoke for itself. "When people underestimate you, they reveal their limitations, not yours," became her personal mantra. After graduation, Dominique accepted an entry-level position at a financial consulting firm in New York. Despite consistently outperforming colleagues, she watched as less qualified counterparts received promotions ahead of her. During one performance review, her manager suggested she adopt a less assertive approach to improve her prospects. That night, she drafted a business plan for her own consulting agency. Starting with just 2 clients and working from her studio apartment, Dominique built Walker Financial Solutions piece by piece. She specialized in helping small businesses secure funding when traditional banks turned them away. Her reputation for finding unconventional solutions spread quickly, particularly among minority business owners facing similar barriers to capital. "The financial system wasn't built with us in mind," she explained in an early interview. "But that doesn't mean we can't rebuild parts of it." By year 3, her client list had grown to over 50 businesses. She hired her first employees, deliberately selecting talented professionals overlooked by larger firms due to bias or discrimination. By year 5, Walker Financial occupied a full floor in a downtown office building, with 32 employees and a waiting list of clients. Success brought visibility, and visibility brought new challenges. At industry events, she was frequently mistaken for an assistant rather than the CEO. Potential clients sometimes requested to speak with the person in charge, even after introductions. During a major banking conference in Dallas, a security guard attempted to direct her to the catering entrance despite her keynote speaker badge. Each incident strengthened her resolve to change the finance industry from within. The turning point came 7 years ago, when Dominique's firm orchestrated an innovative financing solution that saved a historic Black-owned business district from redevelopment. The success caught the attention of investment groups and media nationwide. Offers poured in, but Dominique had a specific vision, acquiring a significant stake in a traditional bank and transforming its practices from the inside out. She set her sights on Meridian Financial, a mid-sized regional bank with 47 branches across 3 states. The institution had a troubling history of redlining and discrimination complaints, but possessed the infrastructure she needed. Through a series of strategic maneuvers, private equity partnerships, investment coalitions, and leveraging her firm's growing assets, Dominique quietly purchased of Meridian's shares. 2 years ago, she secured a seat on the board of directors. 6 months ago, her ownership stake increased to 43%, making her the largest individual shareholder and effectively the owner of Meridian Financial. Few people at the bank knew this. She had deliberately maintained a low profile, observing operations and planning comprehensive reforms before making her presence known. She had visited various branches unannounced, noting how customers were treated and which services were promoted to whom. Until today, she had never encountered such blatant discrimination firsthand in her own institution. As Dominique stood in the lobby of the downtown branch, facing the contemptuous stare of manager Lisa Blackwell, she made a decision. The time for quiet observation had ended. Today, Meridian Financial would meet its actual owner and reckon with its institutional failings in real time. That morning had begun like any other for Dominique. She woke at 5:30 a.m., completed her workout routine, reviewed quarterly projections over breakfast, and headed downtown for an early board meeting. The agenda included discussing branch performance metrics. Ironically, customer service quality was item number 3. 10 minutes before entering Meridian Financial's flagship branch, Dominique received a call from her assistant. "The board members have requested additional funds for the Community Reinvestment Initiative," he explained. "They need approval for the increased budget before noon. I'll withdraw the cash myself and bring it directly to the meeting," Dominique decided. The downtown branch was on her route, and handling it personally would save time. When she entered the bank at a.m., Dominique noted 4 tellers working the counter, a security guard by the entrance, and approximately 7 customers waiting in line. Nothing appeared unusual. The space was immaculate. She'd personally approved the renovation budget last year, insisting on comfortable seating and adequate privacy barriers between teller stations. Dominique joined the line, observing how employees interacted with customers. The elderly white gentleman ahead received warm smiles and attentive service. The young Hispanic woman with a toddler was treated professionally, if somewhat more hurriedly. When Dominique reached the counter, the teller's smile noticeably stiffened. "Good morning," Dominique greeted, sliding her ID and withdrawal slip across the counter. "I need to withdraw $25,000, please." The teller, her nameplate read, Jessica, glanced at the withdrawal slip, then at Dominique's driver's license, then back at Dominique herself. Her expression shifted from polite neutrality to poorly disguised suspicion. "Do you have your account number?" Jessica asked, despite the account information being clearly written on the slip. "It's on the form," Dominique replied calmly. "I've also provided my ID." Jessica nodded stiffly. "I'll need to verify this with my manager. Large cash withdrawals require additional approval." As Jessica walked away, Dominique noticed her whispering to another teller, both glancing back in her direction. The second teller raised her eyebrows dramatically before continuing with her customer. Dominique checked her watch. 5 minutes had passed already. 3 customers had completed their transactions and left. 2 new customers entered. Still, no sign of Jessica or the manager. Dominique remained standing at the empty teller window, while other customers were directed to available staff. Finally, Lisa Blackwell emerged from her office, withdrawal slip in hand. Her expression conveyed skepticism before she even spoke. "Ms. Walker," Lisa began, emphasizing the name as if questioning its authenticity. "I understand you're requesting a significant cash withdrawal today." "Yes." Dominique confirmed. $25,000 from my account. Lisa placed the slip on the counter between them. We typically require advance notice for withdrawals exceeding $10,000. Bank policy. I'm familiar with the policy, Dominique responded. It recommends advance notice for planning purposes, but doesn't require it if funds are available. My account has sufficient funds. Lisa's eyes narrowed. The system has flagged this transaction. We'll need additional verification. By now, the bank had grown quieter. Nearby customers pretended not to listen while openly watching the exchange. Employees had stopped pretending to work, their attention fixed on the confrontation. What additional verification do you need? Dominique asked. Well, for starters, what exactly is this money for? Lisa's tone implied wrongdoing. Such large cash withdrawals often indicate suspicious activity. An older gentleman in line raised his eyebrows. A young couple exchanged glances. The security guard shifted closer. The purpose of my withdrawal is irrelevant, Dominique stated. Federal regulations require reporting of cash transactions over $10,000, but they don't permit denying legitimate customers access to their funds. Lisa's smile tightened. Perhaps you'd prefer to transfer these funds electronically, much safer than carrying cash. I prefer to withdraw my money as requested. I'm trying to help you, Lisa said, voice rising slightly. Frankly, this request seems unusual for someone with your... She paused, eyes flicking over Dominique's appearance. Profile. The implication hung in the air. Several customers looked away, uncomfortable with the exchange's direction. My profile? Dominique repeated. Please clarify what you mean by that. Lisa leaned forward. Let's be honest. This account shows minimal activity for years, then suddenly you appear wanting $25,000 in cash? Our fraud detection system exists for good reason. Check my ID again, Dominique insisted. Verify my signature, call the number on file, follow your procedures. We have procedures for handling suspicious transactions, Lisa countered, loud enough for everyone to hear. And this, Ms. Walker, is suspicious. A teller behind Lisa, a young man who had been watching intently, spoke up. Maybe she won the lottery, he suggested, triggering scattered laughter among the staff. Another employee added, or maybe it's not her account at all. Heat rushed to Dominique's face as whispers spread through the lobby. Customers stared openly now, some with pity, others with suspicion. The security guard took another step closer. Last chance, Lisa announced with finality. I can offer you a cashier's check, or you can leave and return with proper documentation proving these funds are legitimately yours. For 7 long years, Dominique had built her reputation on composure under pressure. She had faced discrimination in boardrooms and lecture halls without losing her professional demeanor. But standing there, publicly humiliated in her own bank, something shifted inside her. She reached for her phone. You've made your position clear, Ms. Blackwell. Now I'll make mine equally clear. Dominique's fingers tapped her phone screen with deliberate precision, her gaze never leaving Lisa Blackwell's face. The entire bank lobby had fallen silent. Even the gentle hum of the air conditioning seemed to pause in anticipation. Who are you calling? Lisa asked, her confident demeanor wavering slightly. The regional director, Dominique replied calmly. Lisa straightened her blazer. By all means. Robert and I have an excellent working relationship. I'm sure he'll explain our security protocols regarding suspicious transactions. Dominique put the phone to her ear. After 2 rings, a male voice answered. She switched to speaker mode. Robert? This is Dominique Walker. I'm at the downtown branch right now. Her voice was measured, professional. Ms. Walker, Robert's voice echoed through the lobby. I wasn't expecting your call. Is everything all right with the quarterly review? Not exactly. I'm experiencing some difficulty withdrawing funds from my personal account. The branch manager, Lisa Blackwell, seems to believe I'm attempting to commit fraud. A heavy pause followed. I'm sorry. Did you say Lisa Blackwell is refusing to process your withdrawal? Robert's voice had dropped 10 degrees. That's correct. Ms. Walker, please put Ms. Blackwell on the phone immediately. Dominique extended the phone toward Lisa, whose complexion had shifted from confident pink to ashen gray. This is Lisa Blackwell, she managed, her voice suddenly thin. Lisa. Robert's voice was controlled but tight. Do you realize who you're speaking with? A customer making a large withdrawal. That's Dominique Walker, the majority shareholder of Meridian Financial and chairwoman of our board of directors. She owns 43% of this entire bank. The phone trembled in Lisa's hand. Around them, employees froze in various states of shock. a tableau of widened eyes and dropped jaws. The security guard took 2 measured steps backward. "There must be some mistake," Lisa whispered. "No mistake," Dominique said, retrieving her phone. "Thank you, Robert. I'll handle things from here." She ended the call and returned the phone to her purse. The lobby remained frozen. Customers glanced between Dominique and Lisa, processing the dramatic shift in power they'd just witnessed. "You're the owner?" Lisa finally managed, her voice barely audible. "I am," Dominique confirmed. "For the past 2 years, I've been quietly visiting branches, observing operations, noting how customers are treated. I've witnessed inconsistencies in service quality, but nothing like what I experienced today." Lisa's mouth opened and closed without producing sound. Behind her, the employee who had joked about the lottery stared at the floor, face burning red. "Ms. Blackwell," Dominique continued, her voice now carrying the weight of her authority, "please bring me the branch's performance metrics for the past 6 months, customer complaint records, and your training materials." "Right away," Lisa whispered, turning toward her office. "Actually," Dominique added, stopping Lisa mid-step, "I'd like Jackson to retrieve those files." She gestured toward the young man who had remained respectfully silent throughout the exchange, the same teller who had first taken her withdrawal slip before getting the manager. "Meanwhile, let's continue our conversation in your office. Former office, I should say." Gasps echoed across the lobby. Lisa's face contorted with sudden panic. "Ms. Walker, please, I didn't realize." "That's precisely the problem," Dominique interrupted. "You didn't need to know who I was to treat me with basic dignity and respect. The same respect every person deserves when they walk through those doors." As Jackson scurried toward the back office, Dominique addressed the remaining staff and customers. "I apologize to everyone for this disruption. To the customers who witnessed this exchange, please know that what you saw today does not reflect the values of Meridian Financial. To the staff, there will be an emergency meeting at noon. Until then, please return to serving our customers with the respect they deserve." Lisa followed Dominique into the manager's office like a condemned prisoner. The door closed behind them, but the glass walls left the conversation visible to all. Inside, Dominique remained standing while Lisa sank into a chair. "Do you understand why you're being terminated?" Dominique asked. "Because I didn't recognize you," Lisa replied weakly. "No, because you demonstrated that you treat people differently based on how they look. You judged my character, my legitimacy, and my right to access my own money based on prejudice, not policy." Lisa's eyes welled with tears. "I was following security protocols. Were you? When you allowed your staff to mock me publicly? When you suggested I use a check cashing service instead of my own bank? When you questioned my profile rather than verifying my identity through proper channels?" Through the glass, every employee could see Lisa's shoulders slump in defeat. If you've ever been underestimated, judged unfairly, or treated with disrespect based on how you look, hit that like button right now. Comment below with a respect first if you believe everyone deserves equal treatment regardless of appearance. This story isn't over yet. Stay with me to see how Dominique transforms this moment of injustice into lasting change at Meridian Financial. By noon, news of the morning's events had spread through all 47 Meridian Financial branches. Employees gathered in break rooms and offices sharing what little information they had. At the downtown location, Jackson had been appointed interim branch manager, and customer service continued with a noticeably heightened attention to courtesy. The emergency staff meeting convened in the downtown branch's conference room, filled beyond capacity with anxious employees. Dominique entered last, commanding immediate silence. "This morning," she began, "some witnessed behavior that violates our customers' trust and contradicts the principles this institution should uphold. I want to be clear. What happened today wasn't an isolated incident, but a symptom of systemic issues we must address." She laid out her observations from anonymous visits to various branches, racial disparities in loan approvals, different service levels based on perceived wealth, inconsistent application of policies. Starting tomorrow, Meridian Financial begins a transformation. It won't be comfortable, but it is necessary. By PM, regional news outlets picked up the story. A customer had recorded the confrontation on their phone, and the video spread rapidly across social media. By evening, national outlets featured headlines like "Bank Owner Fires Manager After Experiencing Discrimination Firsthand" and "CEO's Undercover Visit Exposes Banking Bias." Public response flooded in. Thousands shared similar experiences of discrimination at financial institutions. Former Meridian customers described incidents matching Dominique's, while current employees from other banks anonymously confirmed such practices were commonplace. A financial industry blog posted commentary, and Walker's experience highlights what studies have documented for decades. Black Americans face significant barriers in financial services, from everyday transactions to major loans. The difference? This time, the person being discriminated against had the power to demand immediate accountability. 3 days later, Dominique called a press conference outside Meridian's headquarters. "What happened to me happens to people across America every day," she stated. "The difference is I had the authority to address it directly. Most don't. Today I'm announcing comprehensive changes at Meridian Financial that will serve as a model for the industry." She outlined a 5-point plan: mandatory anti-bias training for all staff, revised customer service protocols with clear accountability measures, an independent review board for discrimination complaints, increased hiring and promotion of underrepresented groups, and a $50 million community investment fund focusing on historically redlined neighborhoods. "Financial institutions have perpetuated inequality for generations," she concluded. "Meridian will now work to correct that legacy." The announcement received mixed reactions from industry peers. Some praised Walker's leadership, others claimed she was overreacting to an unfortunate misunderstanding. Several former Meridian board members who had resigned in protest described her changes as unnecessary overcorrections that would order operations with excessive oversight. Public response was overwhelmingly positive. New account applications at Meridian doubled within a week. Investment firms noted increased interest in companies with demonstrable commitments to equity and inclusion. 6 weeks after the incident, a local business magazine published an interview with Lisa Blackwell, the fired manager. "I'm not racist," she insisted. "I was following security protocols for large transactions." Ms. Walker didn't look like our typical high-net-worth client. When pressed about what a typical high-net-worth client looked like, Lisa struggled to respond. "I've had time to reflect," she eventually admitted. "I realize now that I applied different standards based on assumptions I didn't recognize I was making. I judged her appearance and made conclusions that affected how I treated her." Lisa revealed she had enrolled in bias awareness courses and was volunteering with a financial literacy program in predominantly black neighborhoods. "Being publicly fired was humiliating," she said, "but it forced me to confront uncomfortable truths about myself. I hope other banking professionals learn from my mistake without having to lose their careers first." By quarter's end, Meridian reported a 28% increase in new accounts from minority customers. The diversity of their client base had expanded significantly, and customer satisfaction scores showed marked improvement across all demographics. What began as one woman's humiliating experience had transformed into an industry-wide conversation about who gets to access financial services and how they're treated when they do. 1 year after the incident that transformed Meridian Financial, Dominique stood at a podium accepting the Financial Inclusion Leadership Award. The audience, banking executives, community leaders, and advocates listened intently as she reflected on what had become known simply as end-on confrontation. "What happened that day revealed truths that extend far beyond one bank branch," Dominique explained. "First, discrimination often hides behind policy and procedure. When Lisa Blackwell claimed she was following protocol, she was applying those protocols selectively based on assumptions about who I was." She paused, surveying the room. "Second, power matters. Had I been any other black woman facing that treatment, my options would have been limited. File a complaint that might go nowhere, take my business elsewhere, or simply accept the humiliation as the cost of existing in spaces not designed for people like me." The changes at Meridian had exceeded expectations. The anti-bias training program, now licensed to 17 other financial institutions, had measurably improved customer satisfaction across demographic groups. Loan approval rates showed statistical parity across racial categories for the first time in the bank's history. But the most important lesson, Dominique continued, is that addressing prejudice requires both individual accountability and structural change. Firing one manager wouldn't fix the system that produced her behavior. We needed to examine every policy, procedure, and unwritten rule that created different experiences for different customers. This dual approach had become Meridian's trademark. Their hiring practices now emphasized lived experience alongside traditional qualifications. Branch locations were strategically established in historically underserved communities. Their community reinvestment fund had already supported 43 minority-owned businesses that traditional lending would have rejected. Beyond Meridian, the financial sector had begun responding to public pressure. Several major banks launched internal audits of their customer service practices. Industry publications featured regular columns on financial equity. 2 state legislatures introduced bills requiring financial institutions to track and disclose demographic data on service quality. Meaningful change doesn't come from good intentions or carefully worded statements, Dominique told the audience. It comes from uncomfortable confrontations with truth, followed by concrete action. After the ceremony, a young banking executive approached Dominique. "Your story changed how I see my responsibility," she admitted. "I'm implementing similar changes at my institution, but facing resistance." "How do you respond to people who claim addressing bias hurts the bottom line?" Dominique smiled. "I show them our numbers. Meridian's profits increased 18% this year. Our customer base has diversified. Employee retention improved. Turns out, treating people with dignity is good business." This had become Dominique's most effective argument. By demonstrating that equity and profitability weren't opposing forces, she converted skeptics into allies. Her quarterly profit reports now included metrics on financial inclusion and service equity, showing correlation between the two. 6 months later, Dominique launched the Financial Equity Initiative, a nonprofit organization helping individuals document discriminatory banking practices and advocate for change. The initiative created a secure platform where people could report incidents, connecting them with legal resources when appropriate. "What we're building isn't just about banking," Dominique explained during the launch. "It's about power." Financial institutions control access to home ownership, business development, and generational wealth. When that access is distributed inequitably, we perpetuate historical injustices under the guise of business as usual. The initiative's first report compiled data from thousands of documented incidents, creating an undeniable statistical picture of banking discrimination. When critics attempted to dismiss individual stories as isolated anecdotes, the numbers spoke volumes. Today, Meridian Financial stands as a case study in both ethical leadership and profitable business practices. Their branches consistently rank highest in customer satisfaction across all demographic categories. Their workforce reflects the communities they serve. Their lending practices have helped close wealth gaps in previously redlined neighborhoods. And it all began with one moment of confrontation, when a woman refused to accept disrespect in her own bank. If you found value in this story about standing against prejudice, taking that subscribe button seriously makes a difference. Your support allows us to continue sharing these crucial narratives that challenge assumptions and celebrate dignity. Leave a comment with dignity first if you believe everyone deserves respect regardless of appearance or background. What moment in this story connected most with your own experiences? Share below. Your voice matters in this conversation.